So the fighter jet forces this passenger airplane down. It lands at Minsk. Nobody knows why. But once they're on the ground, Belarusian police storm the plane and grab a guy, a 26-year-old blogger. He was the editor of a Telegram channel that was critical of Belarus's dictator and was supportive of the protests that had sprung up in that country the previous year in 2020 after Belarus's dictator really did appear to have lost an election, but he decided he was going to stay in power anyway. I mean, it's an amazing thing, right? In modern-day Europe, this dictator used a MiG fighter jet to force down a European commercial flight that wasn't even supposed to be landing in his country. He forced that plane down into his country specifically to get this kid off the plane so he could throw him in prison. The Belarusian dictator did that. His name is Alexander Lukashenko. And even if you've never heard of Lukashenko, even if you have never in your life given one thought to the country called Belarus, I swear, he is exactly what you are imagining when you think to yourself, what does a Belarusian dictator look like? Just imagine, right? Look, magic. Exactly that guy, right? Giant, like comically oversized military hat. Regulation size and shape, Saddam-style dictator mustache. He likes to be seen holding guns of all shapes and sizes, just randomly and for no reason. Makes him feel like a big man, almost as big as when he wears the big hat. During the nationwide protests against him in 2020, after he stole that election, he put on fake military gear, the kind of generic, like Amazon Prime branded stuff that gets called tactical because it has extra snaps. He put on this little fake military suit and walked around to try to get tough guy points against the women and students who were protesting against his dictatorship in 2020. Alexander Lukashenko is technically the elected president of Belarus, but he was elected in 1994. And he's been there ever since. He's the longest serving dictator, president in Europe. And it's not because he keeps getting reelected in free and fair elections. And forgive me for saying it this way, but as dictators go, Alexander Lukashenko is kind of a sad sack nutball. I mean, he is as weak as he is brutal, which is a bad pairing that goes together all too often. For Lukashenko, the main hallmark of the later stages of his reign as the longest-standing dictator in Europe is not just that he kills and oppresses his own people and aggregates all the wealth and potential of his country to himself and his family. It's that he's bowing and scraping subservient to Vladimir Putin and Russia. He is as brutal as he is weak. But the relationship between Lukashenko and Putin has led to some real weirdness, especially in recent months, especially after those protests that could have toppled Lukashenko, but they didn't, especially after Putin sent in forces to reinforce Lukashenko against the people protesting against him in his own country. Since then, Lukashenko and Putin appear to have been trying to create some kind of superstate of their two countries, one in which Belarus is sort of more or less willingly subsumed into Russia. This has led, just within the past couple of weeks, to Russia moving nuclear weapons into Belarus. Now, that's a big deal. I mean, when the USSR dissolved in 1991, all the former Soviet states, except for Russia itself, gave up their nuclear weapons. This very recent, this month, transfer of nuclear weapons from Russia into Belarus, that's the first time Russia's moved nuclear weapons outside its borders since the USSR collapsed. And it's not like Lukashenko is like a real stable genius in terms of, feeling comfortable that he's now in control of these things. On the occasion of receiving these nuclear weapons, what did Lukashenko do? Well, he gave a bizarre statement to the press in which he said if any other country wants to join in this new union he's making with Putin, they should just call him up. He said, I'm not speaking for Putin here, I'm just speaking for me. But he says he's pretty sure they'd be happy to take anyone, any other country. So if you want to bring your country into this new union with Russia and Belarus, Lukashenko says, in return for you joining their union, he'll give your country nuclear weapons as a thank you. Again, he said he wasn't speaking for Putin, but he's pretty sure Putin would go along with it. Anybody wants to join our club, I'll give you nukes. This was within minutes of him getting nukes. So I know this is not a part of the world we usually pay much attention to, right? There's no big, like, Western news bureaus in Minsk that we're all taking live shots from on Monday nights. But in recent months, things have been getting increasingly weird in that corner of the world under that increasingly weird, weak, unstable dictator. And now, all of a sudden, that guy is the trusted authority. He's the calm hand. He's the man who the world is apparently entrusting with stopping a civil war in the largest country on the planet. That guy.